I don't think hens fight down there, do they? I don't know anything about this stuff. I think it's mostly just roosters that they use.
Unless they're castrated, maybe you could have an exception for that.
It happens. People
Check on that.
Okay.
Well, we ought to tackle it now.
Just so we wrap this up, I've heard some of the suggestions. I thought that was a good suggestion over there a few minutes ago. But how about the distance? Can you let the chickens be up close to the residents next door? Is it going to be a nuisance as long as they're contained, or should they be a certain distance away?
Well, I was going to ask Richard where he came up with the 50 feet. Is that based on what you've seen in other cities?
Just looking at what others, I mean, it varies a lot, but that seemed.
But now, just for instance, in Los Angeles, for 5,000 square foot, it would be difficult to keep it 50 feet away from the nearest residence. So they're talking almost about what I call row houses with little backyards in them, and that's 5,000 square foot right there. So.
My only comment on Los Angeles is drainage, the soil type.
Yeah,
if it's sand there, I think you could, I don't know, you could have more chickens than you could in a clay place like here. So I would tend to want to look at ordinances that are from clay
I noticed some of the ordinances from places like Minnesota, Wisconsin, and areas like that, they have in there a stipulation that the codes officer shall periodically check. First of all, in order to have chickens, you have to go through the codes office and fill out something. So they
Shucks.
because if someone files a complaint against them, they know who owns them and where they are and what they're supposed to be doing. Okay, if you go down there and you find that they've got a mess, then that's a nuisance. You can't do that. You got to keep it cleaned up and you got to keep it in a good shape. So you can't let it become a nuisance where it's smelling for the next door neighbor. And there's other issues with that kind of thing too. There's even diseases that can come about as a result of chicken feces. I mean, there's histoplasmosis, for instance, can be spread through that. The different things, but that's why it would have to be kept clean, and that would be up to the owner to do that. And I think most people would be responsible to do that. And the ones that we've had, we haven't had any real issues with smell. It's always been they got over the fence and they're in my yard. That's the biggest issue we've had.
Yeah.
So 50 feet, does 50 feet seem reasonable to keep it away from the nearest residence and that kind of thing? I thought this ordinance that they had proposed was a good starting point. It's just a starting point, but I thought it was a good starting point. The 5 chickens, you know. Now, what you might want to look at is if you're in the city limits and you've got, let's say you got more acreage. I mean, you've got 5 acres. It may be, at that point, you may go up a considerable amount. But just on a standard house and lot type deal, 5 seems to be as much as you would want in that situation. Does that sound reasonable? That we could just start from that point? Because it's going to come down to the citizens anyway. I mean, we're not advocating or we're not pushing the ordinance. It's just the fact that we're laying it out there, and it'll be up to the city council and the members and the citizens of Berea.
So at this point, are we going to just leave it at chickens, or do we add other?
At this point, that's all I've been asked to look into at this point. I think we'll leave it there for right now, but the whole entire ordinance needs to be looked at because it's really outdated for today's lifestyle in Berea.
And when are you hoping to have this?
Well, I'm supposed to get
ready?
back with something this spring as soon as possible, possibly February, March.
Okay.
But I'll go ahead and present something to the city council, see what they want to do with it. I think I hear your recommendations as being what was pretty much outlined here a few moments ago. So that's what we'll present. Okay, thank you.
So we done with that one, Phyllis? Okay, next item, approval process meeting.
Okay, George and Mac, I think you all were selected to meet with 2 council members and talk about the approval process. We had one meeting, it was kind of an organizational meeting. It's time now to have our second meeting, which is going to be a problem and answer session, gathering all the problems with the approval process just to listen to what the people have to say, and also to listen to maybe some answers to what some of the problems may be.